Hey, hi everybody. Hi Roman. Hi Lori. Hi, how you doing?
Melanie. I'm great. How are you guys? Hi Roman.
Hey, Melanie's changed.
Yep, I was a little different today.
Hi Melanie. Well, we got the whole crew here. Well, and we got a couple of Landseer Newfoundlands. We've got a great Pyrenees, and Roman's got a heck of a topic today. Yes, he does, and a stuffed animal on his hand. At least he's not in his bathrobe like he was. Wow. Hi Debbie. How's that handsome boy of yours doing that you couldn't let go? She's a foster fail, but hey, fostering is the only job you can get where failure is actually a good thing.
That's right.
Anyway, who do you want to do first? You want to do Sedona first, or do you want to do Mr. whoever that is first?
I'm fine with either.
I'm good with either. Whatever you guys want to do.
Well, come on, that's not the answer I was needing.
Let's go first then. This is Diesel.
All right. Okay, that's who I thought that one was. Yep. And how can you tell the difference? They're both Landseers.
Well, if you see him from the side or the back, Diesel's more white and Duke has some more black on him. So there you go. That's Diesel. They are 3-year-old litter mates. Their owners decided to get divorced, and neither one of them wanted them. So they surrendered them to a shelter down in Pennsylvania.
Hopefully they didn't get divorced because of them.
Well,
not
yeah,
Newfies.
No, you never know nowadays.
Yeah, really. I know.
But super sweet boys. They get along great with my pack. They both are neutered recently.
Yeah. Now Diesel just got neutered.
Yep. 2 weeks ago. So he's still in the healing process.
Yeah. I was going to upload his video, but I didn't want to embarrass him. He was trying to get the cone off.
Yeah.
Then he was jumping like a Lipizzaner stallion.
That's exactly right. He was on had the big donut around his neck for the longest time. So he graduated and was able to get that off. So doing awesome. Very well.
Awesome. Melanie, you asked a question since I can't walk and talk at the same time. I got to type something.
Okay, so let's start off with what would Diesel's perfect house look like? Perfect home.
Diesel is still very much a puppy. He's kind of a doofy kind of a boy, if you will. He loves to do zoomies. They both are super lovers, but Diesel has zoomies, and when he first gets around you is super, super excited, runs circles around you on his leash or out in the yard, whatever the case may be. I really think he would be good with a outgoing family. If they have another dog around the same age active, he would do great with another dog at the property. I'm almost positive that Newfoundland place wants to adopt them out separately just so they can thrive on their own.
That way one of them can get all the attention.
Right. Yep. They do great on their own. I've had them separate with them being neutered at separate times so they weren't jumping all over each other. And they do great.
Yeah. What's going on there?
So see how Diesel has more of the white back and all that, where Duke is more black all the way around.
Yeah, but he looks like a throw rug.
Yeah, just don't try to step on it because it might lift up as you step on it.
Yeah. How much do they weigh? You had him to the vet. Do you have a weight on him?
Yeah, 106 pounds, I think it was.
Oh, he's not a big guy.
No, Diesel is a lot thinner than Duke. And they both have some skin issues going on. Not sure if it's because of not the best food diet that they were on, but we've got
Benefil is not the greatest food.
No, so we've got them on some Pro Plan, sensitive skin and stomach, salmon, and I'm giving them chub mackerel in their food every day, and trying to get them exercise and learn.
Damn, now you're making me hungry.
I'll send you to my Steve. And
Now,
then-
how do they do with your dogs? You said they did pretty good with your dogs.
Yep. They have no problem with whatsoever. When I bring them in the house, they all get along. They are super curious about my cats, kind of like
Okay.
Cosmo was. So my suggestion is probably a house that doesn't have cats,
Okay.
maybe.
Now your dogs are familiar with you bringing stray dogs home every once in a while.
Yep.
But that doesn't make them good. It just makes them familiar. That's all.
Correct.
So
Yep.
you still had to do introductions, didn't you?
Yep. And
Okay.
my yard, I've got 2 separate fenced in areas. So we
Yep.
do the fence to fence meet and,
Yep. Well, you've done a lot of work since last time I was there on it.
Yeah, I have, Steve. I really have. I've got kennels up, and I eventually want to do a doggy daycare boarding facility. So I'm trying to get everything
Now,
right.
if somebody wanted to adopt the two together, would that be an option? They seem
I'm
to
sure.
do well, even in a car.
Yes,
or-
they
or a
do. They
Jeep
rode
in this
well.
case.
I picked them up down in Erie, Pennsylvania from a transport that helped us out. And they rode, 3 hours back to my house, and they didn't have any issues whatsoever. So
Okay. Now, Diesel has more white on him than Duke does, right?
correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And that picture right there was Duke. So this is Duke. That's Diesel.
Wait a minute. This picture was Duke?
Yep, that's Duke. Yep.
Oops. I got him.
Yep.
I got him labeled as
Mislabeled.
Diesel.
Yep, that's Duke.
Don't shoot me.
Yep, I wouldn't. So I
But
have
they
Duke
look.
right
I mean,
here.
I'm sorry. You get 2 Landseers together, and you send me photographs. This is going to happen sometime. Same way
Yeah.
with Great Pyrenees. It can happen with Great Pyrs too.
Yep. So from the front, they both look a lot alike. Diesel's face is a little bit thinner. Duke's got a little better coat than Diesel does. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's actually allergies or just not good food, but
Right. Well, it's spring. It's hard to tell in this time of year too. Sometimes.
yeah.
Hi, Patty. Patty sucks as a foster too. She kept her Akbash. She was fostering Jack and adopted him.
Hi.
Way to go, Patty. Way to go,
Good job,
Jack.
Daddy. Good job.
Yeah.
Hi.
He's they're good looking dogs now.
Thank you.
Now they're with TNP, right?
Yep, they're with that Newfoundland place.
And what is okay? That Newfoundlandplace.org is what it is.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
But how do you apply for them? I didn't see any place to apply for them.
I believe if you go into their website, Nancy usually does the application.
Oh, I think there was something written up there that says contact me if you're interested in adopting or something like that.
Yep. The
Okay.
website has changed just a little bit since Kathy has
Right.
passed.
Well, it's still informal. I mean, it's still pretty informal.
Yep. So this is Duke in front of the camera now.
Yeah.
Duke is a lot more laid back. He reminds me a lot of my Rip. Same markings, other than Rip has a little white on his nose. But Duke is way more laid back, easygoing.
He's bigger too.
Yes, he is. He's got a thicker coat, a little more weight than Diesel does. But both are super, super sweet dogs. Great, the typical Newfoundland Landseers. And now one of my cats just walked up to the window. So Diesel.
Look at that tail go. Somebody just got stimulated. And
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
somebody else going to get beat up here by the tail.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
Speaking of beat up by the tail, I would like maybe you can talk to Cosmo's parents.
Yep.
And maybe we can get them back on for a progress report because Roman gave them a lot of information.
Okay.
And we might be curious on how it's going with the other Newfie.
Okay. Yeah. Guess what? I'm dog sitting for him again next month. So maybe
are
we
you?
can do another show with
Okay.
him while I have
Well,
him.
maybe you can give us an update.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I have him
So,
from June 11th to the 15th, I believe.
wow.
So-
Yeah, because Roman gave them a lot of good information.
Oh, good. Thank you very much, Roman.
Yeah, that was when they were on the show.
Oh,
You
yeah,
were
when they
there.
were on the show.
Yeah,
Yes.
you were there.
Yep, that's right. Yep. I didn't know. I wasn't sure if they reached out afterwards or did any kind of follow up. So
I don't know. Roman, they got privacy laws he has to abide by.
HIPAA laws, right?
Yeah. Okay. So now Duke, how is his personality different from Diesel's? That's a stupid question, but we're going to ask it anyway.
Yes, very much so. He's way more laid back, easygoing. He actually loves to play with the ball. 5 minutes before we started, I have one of those big blue with a handle.
Yeah.
I think they're horse balls, actually. And he was running up and down the yard 100 miles an hour with that thing, barking and having a ball.
On average, the rescues will tell you that the Great Pyrenees is not an adult till they're 3. I respectfully disagree. I think it's closer to 4.
Yeah, I agree with
They
you
got
there.
a lot of puppy in them.
Yeah.
And there's really no set age. They've never told us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way Diesel is. I feel that Diesel is definitely way more of a puppy than Duke is, but they're both lovers. Once they get settled in, they're great dogs. They give kisses. They paw up like a peer when they want a hug. They lean. Newfoundlands are leaners. So when you're standing there trying to do something, they lean right into you. And if you're not paying attention, you could take a few steps forward or backwards when you're not expecting it.
Right.
But they're great boys.
Well, and they're affectionate. You've only had them, what, 2 weeks?
3 weeks now.
3 weeks.
Yep.
But that 1 week you didn't have them because when you got them, you went somewhere else.
I know. I had them about 4 days, and I took off for Savannah, Georgia for my dad's.
Was that where you were, Georgia? I thought you were in Florida.
I did. We went to Savannah for 4 days, and then we went down to Daytona area for another 4 days. But we were with my dad and family, so we had a great time.
You didn't get caught up in that spring break stuff, did you?
Nope. We were away from that, but I had a wonderful girl that comes to the house, and she took excellent care of them. And Diesel actually just got neutered the day before I left, so she did great with them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he sure didn't like that cone, did he? And it was a nice cone. It wasn't one of those Elizabeth collars. He had one of those blow-up donuts on it, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. He had 2 different ones. He had the big sunflower one for the longest time, and then he downsized to the donut. So he did good with them.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, did he go to another foster? Did they go to another foster while you were gone, or did you have to put him in boarding?
No, I have a girl that comes right here and stays with my dogs and cats. So they were right here. They never left the house. Yep.
Awesome.
So I'm very lucky. Laura does a great job, and she comes right in and takes care of everything for me. So I don't have to worry about it at all.
All right. That Newfoundlandplace.org out of Connecticut. That's where you pick up one of these guys right here. And boy, there's some handsome boys, aren't they?
They are. Thank you. And they are ready to go to their forever home. So if anybody's interested, reach out and let them know that you're interested in these guys.
And what I would suggest, if you're on the fence about a dog, get the app in anyway.
Yep.
That way you don't have that processing time to go, and the dog gets adopted in that processing time from somebody that applied first. So. Yep,
exactly. And we do have a lot of applications on file with home checks already. And they
so that's why you don't advertise a lot, because you already got your adopters.
Yep, we have repeat people, but it does not hurt at all. If you see a dog that you're interested in, get your application in. If it's not one of these guys, we get them in, often. So if you want a dog, and that Newfoundland place is fantastic. They get them spayed, neutered, get all their vaccines, get everything up to date before they go to their
and then you got to pry them out of their cold dead hands to get them, because you better be a good home.
That's exactly right. Yep. They have quite the
process.
Newfoundland,
they're not the biggest rescue around, but they are awesome.
They are. They really are, and they've kept going after Kath passed, and that was a horrible thing.
The founder and the director of that Newfoundland place, she passed away. Been a year now.
It'll be a year next month, in June. So yes,
Kind of surprised most people too. They didn't know.
No, we didn't. So
I didn't.
Nope.
And I've met her too. So she's a good lady. She's very passionate about this breed.
But
she's also very passionate about other breeds too.
Yep. She helped anybody and everybody. It
That's
didn't
right.
matter. If you wanted
That's
to
right.
keep your dog, they would help do whatever it
Yeah.
takes. And they still do. So
Yeah. You always got to remember, rescue, never assume they want your dog because they
No.
don't. They have plenty. Okay.
Yep.
They don't need your dog. So
Nope.
if you they have resources that can help you keep your dog in your home, if that's an option. Okay.
And right
Now,
now,
if you're in a hospice care, it may not be an option. All right.
yeah.
But
Right
that's
now,
what rescues are for.
New to You just got in the last week 18 calls for owner surrender. For
18 what?
18 phone calls
Oh,
on
18 phone
owner
calls.
surrenders through New to You of people that, for whatever reason, can't keep their dogs. So it's
Yeah,
it's
and the
sad.
Great Pyrenees rescues, they get inundated with calls daily, and
Uh,
now we're losing a Great Pyrenees rescue in Colorado.
right.
Nobody's
I'm
stepping up.
curious to hear the reasons why they want to surrender the dogs, or their versions of the reasons.
I know, Roman. I want to hear that too, because I was telling Steve earlier. So Fiona, that we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, she has since been adopted, and her new owner had reached out, and her and her husband got a new job and asked if I would be willing to take her back. And then she said, give us a day to process this, because it all just happened today. We really want, we need to figure this out. Well, her 8-year-old or 9-year-old daughter had a complete meltdown and didn't realize how attached that their daughter had gotten to Fiona in that short of a time. So she reached back out and said, I apologize wholeheartedly that I reached out to you. We will do whatever it takes to make this work. And wherever we move to, I will make 100% sure that we are able to take our dog, because I can't crush my daughter. I just can't do that. So
And I
that,
appreciate the fact that they care for their daughter in that way also.
thank
A lot
you.
of parents won't do that.
That's exactly what I was thinking, and bless them for making whatever they were thrown, they were thrown in a tizzy as well, getting this job offer and having to move and uproot.
Now they got to find a new place because they're going to an apartment and may not be able to have a dog. What is that in Melanie? Oh, that's a cat.
That's exactly what they thought, that they were going to have to rent an apartment and might not be able to. But they said, we will search until we can find a place that will allow us to have.
Cool.
Yeah. So
All
bless
right.
their hearts.
Well, we're going to move on to the cat, or whoever Melanie has there now.
It's just Pona.
The dogs are going to get jealous pretty soon here. It's but now I didn't we didn't have time to make a video for Diesel and Duke, because we literally getting them on last minute, didn't we?
Yeah.
So I got one started, but it just didn't make it in time. But Sedona does have a video, and it's actually an awesome video. Congratulations on that one again, Melanie. So we'll play this and we'll get it into Sedona. like that book format.
That was really nice.
Or the
Whoever did
Dear
that.
Diary
Yeah.
is what that was. But
Yeah.
yeah, there she is.
There she is.
You know what? When I first saw her, I thought she was older than 2.
No, I mean, obviously we're estimating. She's a stray that a Good Samaritan found. So, it's an estimation, but yeah, we're estimating she's about 2. She's had puppies before. And
A baby that had babies.
yeah. Her fur is filled out some more. So, I mean, I don't think she's ever going to be like as fluffy as the fluffiest Great Pyrenees, but she is starting to fill out her fur some more.
And speaking of fluffy, I saw in that video twice a big fluff butt Great Pyrenees. Who was that?
That's Artemis. That's my resident Pyr.
Oh, that's Artemis. Why didn't you enter Artemis in the big fluff butt contest when we had it?
I didn't think about it. She probably could have gone into the big fluffy butt.
I think she could have been a contender.
Yeah.
I like his picture.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yes, it is. I guess I better look at some of the questions here since Melanie's busy. Oh yeah, Rena. Yeah, Sedona does look great. She's came from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and by the way, I don't know if you can see this or not, Melanie, but Rena says, "Nice work, great job."
Thank you. She's come a long way. I really did try with the video to kind of portray what it was like for her. She was really scared.
Mm-hmm.
She was never really scared of me. She didn't seem scared of like people. She actually was pretty friendly. But she was really timid with new places. She's very timid with new dogs. Things could startle her very easily. And she's one I definitely have had to take a lot of time with to make sure she feels comfortable.
Right. Or how about safe? Does she feel safe now? Because that's your first event that you want to get her to get to happen, so you can move on to other things. But she looks comfortable to me right there at that minute.
Well, she decided to come up on the bed, which, as I mentioned in the video, she loves getting on the bed. So she came up on the bed, did not want to come back out to the living room, so we moved for her because that's where she wanted to be. She definitely has her safe places. The guest room where she started has been her safe place. She can go back to anytime she feels uncomfortable. And then she likes the beds. The beds are very comfortable. She has a crate at night. That's her own space. And for her, having her own space is really important. She does well with other dogs in that she likes to play with them, but they have to respect her space.
She has a personal space. She's pretty adamant about not wanting her space violated without consent, didn't she?
Yes.
How long have you had her, Mel?
About a month.
Nice.
See, there is no timer on this. This is all up to the dog.
Yeah.
Well, she sure is enjoying whatever you gave her.
It's a yak bone.
Oh.
My husband buys them. I don't know much about it, but they usually are good. You chew on them for quite a while before they get destroyed. So.
Okay. Wow. She sure is beautiful. Now, how big is she? She looks little. Is she?
She is. I haven't gotten her on real recently. She was at about 53 pounds last I weighed her. We are trying to get her to gain some weight. Probably about another 10 or 15 pounds.
That's too little to be even a pocket Pyr. So what do you classify that at?
2 years old.
Some sort of mix.
Wow.
But we are trying to get her to fill out some more because I'm feeding her puppy food right now, and feeding her a fair amount of about 4.5 cups a day to try to help her put on some weight.
Wow. That made me shudder.
She is adorable.
Because you don't want to put on weight too fast.
No, I started her off at around 3.5 cups, and she wasn't gaining weight.
Okay, so she was eating all that food too, wasn't she?
She was.
Okay.
And so I bumped it up to see if we could get her to, because she'd stayed about the same weight for about 2 weeks. She wasn't putting any on.
See, I can't speak intelligently about that because I'm not a nutritionist. Now Roman studied that, but she sure is beautiful. So what are you now? You've had her a month, and this could change as time goes on. But right now, at this point, if somebody applied for her, what would you think would be her perfect home? What would it?
So she could be an only dog. She'd be very happy as an only dog. She likes other dogs, but she doesn't crave their attention. If they're there and she's comfortable, she'll play. But if not, she'll go entertain herself. She's a really mellow dog, so she doesn't, she likes to walk every day. But other than that, she's not one who's going to be bouncing off the walls or anything. If it was a house with another dog, it would have to be an experienced owner who can do slow introductions, because it's one of those things that we all know the way dogs communicate can sometimes be scary to humans. She'll growl, she'll lunge. She's never bit, but she'll do things that can be scary, and she's
intimidating.
Yeah. And so someone who's inexperienced with that, I wouldn't want to return because they think this dog's aggressive when she's not at all. She's saying, I'm not comfortable right now. I'm not safe. And it's just communication. So that would be kind of the most important thing if she was going to go in with another dog. She's pretty indifferent towards the cats. She wants the personal space from the cats as well.
Well, we have proof the cat's still alive.
Yeah, the cat is still alive. She tolerates the cat coming into her space for a little while, but you kind of have to watch her. She'll start like lifting the side of her lip where you can see some teeth, and that's kind of her, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't realize how important that space around that dog is. That's very important.
Look at that.
Wow, look, she's beautiful.
She is.
Man. All right. So that's a heck of a perfect home.
Yeah.
But there's not that many restrictions on her.
No, there's not.
No.
She can be an only dog, which there's a lot of dogs who can't. So that's actually a benefit for her. And she can be with other dogs as long as the owner is knowledgeable or willing to become knowledgeable about how to do those kinds of introductions and just be aware of her needs.
Right. Well, introductions are important because we don't want to have a bad first impression, like the type of impression that one of them ate the other dog was as a first impression. By the way, I don't know if you saw it or not, Melanie, but a few minutes ago, we witnessed a Newfoundland give him the peer paw.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
They do regularly. You get swatted whether you want to or not, just like a peer.
Yeah. Now, does she? When you mentioned that she growl and lunge, why would she lunge? Because we missed the attempts to tell you that she wasn't comfortable ahead of that, and she had to go on to the next thing.
So it's happened a couple of times, and usually
she's too cute to lunge. Sorry, but go ahead.
When the dogs want to come into the house, if another dog tries to go through the doors the same time as her, that's usually where it happens.
Okay.
So it's actually been my Pyrenees, who is extremely laid back, but she's a little oblivious. So she just wanders in and she wants to be friendly, and she doesn't have any space issues. So she'll push her way through with Sedona. And so the couple of times it's happened, it's been because of that space issue.
And how does she respond to that?
How does Artemis respond or Sedona?
No, how did Artemis respond?
Oh, Artemis just like sits down and moves back. Artemis is not aggressive at all. And so
you said Artemis stepped back?
Yeah, she steps back away.
Yeah, that's what that was all about.
Yeah. So it starts solving the problem as she steps back. And then I or my husband have kind of stepped in to make sure everyone moves on their own direction.
Cool. And some of this stuff she could get used to it and do better with it, and some of it she may not. It depends on why we confine space. Pretty good reason for a trigger. Okay. Okay. Here's a question that we'll let Roman address that one before he goes into his set topic. That is a good question, though. why do narrow hallways challenge, or why is it a challenge for some Pyrs? It's actually more than some Pyrs. It's any breed.
Yes, it is. Cosmo is like that too.
You want to answer that, or we kind of already did, didn't we?
Well, dogs
Personal
want
space.
space. What?
It's personal space, right?
Right? And what happens? There are two versions of it. The one version is the dogs are excited, are overstimulated, and they are sensitive to touch. And so when they're focusing on the person coming in the house and another dog pushes, moves around, that could happen that they take that offensive. And then there's a fight or struggle. The other version is dogs who have vaccination side effects, are sensitive to skin, they have allergies, they have underlying medical conditions. Some of them have something called rabies miasm. I know many people like, it doesn't exist. Well, okay. They get stressed when they are in a closed, confined space that can elevate the stressor. The other reason could be that there is a dispute happening, that one dog wants attention more than the other, and the other dog doesn't see that as fair. And so they will have a dispute about who can claim mom or dad right now. So before we jump on conclusions and saying the dog is dominant or they want just to take over your house, we have to step back and see when it's happening, why is that happening? Usually the main cause is anxiety. We see excitement, but in reality, if excitement gets too much, it becomes anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So excitement, floop, anxiety. And that's where the problem happens. The dog cannot think properly through it. The body goes into survival response, and that's what the problem happens.
And
that's in brief.
Yeah. So that's why I like you to answer those, because you do it well. And
like and share.
Yeah, there you go. Like and share. Now, so Great Pyrenees Rescue Society.org is where Sedona is. And is she ready now?
Nope.
Melanie? She gone. Okay, I'm talking to myself.
She gone.
Her device says it disconnected. Anyway, so we're going to move on to our topic of the day. And I'll do a little bit of an intro to it. Remember the message last night.
Can I just say a quick hi to Amy Jo? She is the one that adopted, remember, Jelly and Val?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. So Amy Jo has Jelly. Now she's Clementine. So Hi, Amy Jo, and hi, Leslie. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
There you go. Where'd you go, Melanie? We missed you.
This webcam or the USB port it goes into is acting weird, so that when I move the device, it's like shorting or something.
Okay.
It's
now, before I didn't realize you were gone, and I asked you a question, but and you didn't answer it. So, is she ready for adoption now?
She is ready for adoption. I'm putting in the link to her page for Great Pyrenees Rescue Society, but she can have an application put in for her at any time, and we'd love to find her perfect home.
All right, cool. All right, moving on. Once again, Great Pyrenees Rescue Society.org for Sedona, and that Newfoundland.org for Duke and Diesel. All right. Now, with Roman's going to discuss something that's actually we're seeing more and more of, and it's kind of uncomfortable. We're seeing more and more vets addressing behavior by medicating it with fluoxetine. Prozac is the generic, or is the Prozac's the drug, fluoxetine's the generic. And keep in mind, that's a human drug, okay? The veterinary version of that is called Reconcile. Now, there's been some debate on, apparently that's being looked into, that drug in general, because there's a lot of side effects here. Like, it takes a while to build up in the system. and it takes a while, probably that long to wean them off of it. They can have seizures if you wean them off wrong. Holy cow. I don't think I want to give my dog a drug like that anyway.
No.
So, but we're seeing more and more of this coming out of veterinarians. I actually had one in another state where the vet knew I was working with the dog, but still talked him into Prozac. That didn't sit well with me, because a human side effect is called brain fog. This drug will cloud the thinking of a Great Pyrenees. I don't think I want that. Go ahead, Roma. Sorry.
Well, I love vets, and I love
So do I.
veterinary behaviorists, and I love all the people who love dogs. The problem starts when a person goes to the vet and explain, my dog has a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The vet doesn't have an assessment. He listens to the client. So my client can say, my dog is jumping on people and he's aggressive. Now, the problem starts by the definition of aggression. A vet will see aggression, a client will see aggression, I see aggression, a dog sees aggression. Everyone sees it differently. While on one side, the dog jumping on person could be part of separation anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping on person could be part of the dog feeling insecure and feel appeasement behavior because he felt invaded. Jumping on people could also be the dog has no clue what else to do because it's being reinforced by one person or the other. And then there's this misconception that behavior can be addressed with medication. I don't have a red. No, it doesn't.
No.
Medication can support behavior intervention, but doesn't address in itself. And that's the confusion, right? Because a medication has a certain frame of what it does. Who does the assessment, what it does, and who does the assessment, what the dog does? And is the problem sometimes that we see that a dog does something and we judge the behavior because of what we see, instead of looking into why it's happening and what the dog is feeling about it? So
never forget, all behavior has a why.
Right. And so we want to see that behavior, not as just behavior, as an expression of feelings. Damn it. Right? Expression of feelings. In other words, if you come home and your partner asks you and screams at you, why are you so late? You're supposed to be here. I have this food on the stove like for 5 hours. We should send her to the doctor to prescribe a medication because she's wrong.
Yeah. How can a dog be wrong?
Right? Now, that's a good question. That's why when we do make medication, it always should come in with the proper behavior assessment, a trauma-informed, attachment-based assessment that sees where the dog is coming from, what is past experiences, what is the reason why the dog behaves that way. And once we have that mapped out, then we can go and say, okay, now that we know why the dog does that, these are the things that we have to address. And we recommend to do that medication on that prescription to help the dog in these particular areas. Mm-hmm. So medication is not the magic wand that makes problems go away.
No.
Medication for separation anxiety can cause separation anxiety.
Yeah.
Medication to address aggression can cause aggression. Okay.
Now, you know what you're describing? You're describing the behavior is only the symptom. There's something else driving it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then usually what's happening, people go home with a medication, rely on that, don't do anything else. The dog feels drowsy, doesn't feel in control of his environment, and escalates. And plus, it takes a long time to kick in. And if it kicks in, we don't know if it's the right kick in or is the wrong kick in. And then what we have to do is we wind it down again another 2 or 3 weeks, which means all of a sudden that instead of addressing the behavior root cause, we're addressing the behavior shown, and it takes 6 weeks to overcome and figure out what's wrong or what's right. Not recognizing that sometimes one medication may address one thing in a proper dose, Usually it's being overdosed. And the other behavior can be addressed as well.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
What that? 2-year-old left home alone for 2 hours. The Pyrenees had a panic attack, about $3,000 worth of damage, dollars, I guess. Took the dog to the vet, and he handed me a bottle for Prozac and refused to give my dog.
That's Rena.
Rena.
That's
Rena,
Rena.
I cannot say wrong or right because I don't know the entire history, what's happening. But
Right.
of course, giving the dog doggy Prozac sounds like the same thing what parents do with kids who are in the spectrum or have the tantrum or have trauma. They just prescribe and things will fix itself. Separation anxiety and panic attack are two different things. They're usually working together. So
And
we
they're
want to
also
make sure we
complex,
understand
too.
exactly. What was that?
They're also very complex too.
They're complex.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's quite too complex to just prescribe a medication. I don't
Right.
think Prozac will cut it.
That's what I was getting at.
Right.
There are separation anxiety specialist behaviorists out there that specialize in that's all they do, separation anxiety. Ness Jones is one of them.
Yeah.
And out of Australia there. But wow, I'll tell you. But also too, we got to be aware, and this is why it's so important that you don't just let your vet medicate your dog. Me and Roman will tell you all the time, you got to listen to your vet, but you have to draw a line. All right. Is your vet experienced in this type of behavior? Well, look after his name. Are there other letters besides DVM back there? Maybe he is.
I can give you an example. For example, there was a dog who was shown separation anxiety and being destructive, and yes, he had panic attacks. After doing a proper assessment, we found out that a dog doesn't have a problem with people being gone. He had a problem seeing people leaving.
Ah.
And without medication, without anything else, all we introduced him, if I'm not visible, object permanence, it's not a bad thing. I will come back soon.
That's right. And that's just similar to you're making too big of a deal about leaving, and then you're making too big of a deal about coming back.
Yeah.
All right. In both ways. So, and also too, what I've seen a lot of is boredom in a Great Pyrenees has similar side effects that separation anxiety does. So once again, it's complex. You got to make sure you're treating the right behavior. But you see, separation anxiety is not a behavior; that's a disorder. Okay.
Separation
anxiety, you pick up a puppy that's nursing on mommy, you're going to see separation anxiety. But anyway, that is a heck of a topic, and I think it's an important topic because it takes so long to get that drug out of the system after just a week, 8 days. And
one thing that I noticed that often those medications are prescribed per weight, but the reality is it's an emotional drug, which means depends on the dog's emotional state of mind how it will affect.
It changes the serotonin and goes to the brain.
Right. And so if a dog is a very sensitive dog, he will definitely be overdosed. Which is guardian breeds are very emotionally intelligent. Yeah. He feels like drowsy and not comfortable. He gets anxious.
And I don't want an anxious Pyrenees living with me and my other four.
And especially if the dog is anxious of people leaving, and that's why he gets the medication for.
Yep. Yep. But it was in a lot of cases. See, Great Pyrenees need a job, and they're pretty adamant about it. Some of them, and it can resemble the same damage as separation anxiety, with a difference. It's usually not focused on the door you went out of, but it could still damage it. Okay, so that's why I can get confused. I mean,
that's the way Mr. Tibbs was, Stephen Roman, when I had him. Anytime anybody would be,
he had some anxiety.
Oh, as soon as they got ready to go out that door, boy, he would bark and jump and lunge at the door. Yeah. And, he was
before anybody left, he was already well triggered.
Yeah, he was loved everybody and peer paw when people were here. But the second they would walk towards that door, he would go nuts.
After a certain amount of time, he would start watching, just focusing on the people that were visiting.
Yep.
just daring him to walk out, or just whatever he was focusing on, but he was anticipating it.
Yep. He did. I think it's just because his people left him and he
That was a problem. Yeah.
Just all right. Are you going to leave me and never come back type of thing? So
Now his mom died, right?
no, she was handicapped and couldn't keep him after they got divorced.
Somebody had died in that situation.
Yeah.
Okay. And also too, she's got 2 siblings, and she sees zero indication that they need each other to survive.
Yep.
So there's no signs of a bonded pair there, which is why they can be separated like that. Siblings can often become a bonded pair if we don't do due diligence. Okay.
Yep.
So that means, wow, we cause a lot of problems, don't we, Roman, as humans?
Yep.
Because we don't know. Now that we're learning, these are exciting times right now. All the stuff we're learning about animal behavior, and it's not just dogs, it's horses and snakes actually too. And these are exciting times, but not all of us want to change with the times. And I've been fortunate. This is the way I've been doing it for 40 years. I've never knowingly forced a dog to do something for me. Okay. Now, have I used choker collars? Yeah, I have in the past. That's about all you could buy at one time. Okay. So yeah, did I ever like them? I never gave that much thought about it back then. Okay. Am I a bad person? I don't think I am. But if I had a choker collar on a dog, knowing what I know now, yeah, that wasn't good. But we didn't know that back then for sure. We were looking at it, but a lot of us nobody really spoke up back then because we didn't have internet, right? So, and we had much better time without all that technology.
Sure.
But we need some of it anyway. Wow. So I'm going to reaffirm, listen to your vet, but always remember your vet, they may not be a behaviorist or a behavior consultant. They know how to approach dogs.
Unfortunately, in veterinary school, they don't teach behavior.
No. That's extra school.
That's why they go separate schools to animal behavior. And animal behavior are not in the field.
Right.
And they're not.
And it's animal behavior, not just focused on dogs either.
Right. And they're not breed specific directions.
Yep.
So my belief is a veterinary behaviorist should work with a behavior consultant who is closer to the breed and closer to the system. And that should be a multidisciplinary approach. The veterinarian who does the technical stuff, the medical stuff, the veterinary behaviorist who does the chemical stuff, the behavior consultant who does the connection and the integration and the family and the system and set everything up. And all those 2 things together would be a good result.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you don't need force, fear, or pain to accomplish any of this either. It's just not necessary. And anybody that lives in New Jersey, pay attention to that New Jersey bill. That's actually a good one. Hopefully it passes. A lot of feedback, a lot of pushback on that.
Yep.
So, by the way, is there any new news on that? Have they got a new vote set on it yet that you know of? I'll ask Linda.
Not that I know of. Things happening, but I don't know.
That. Linda's been, and Linda I'm talking about is if anybody can see that chart behind Roman, she created that, the hierarchy of dog needs. And you know what's not on the hierarchy of dog needs on that chart? Doesn't say anything about dominance, doesn't say anything about alpha, nothing about packs. It was different, wasn't it, Roman?
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Wow. We're going to end it early today. Now, don't forget, if anybody has a question for Roman, let us know. Send them. You actually send them to Roman if you want, or you send them to info@newhopepyrs.org. You can ask it in the comments. That's why Roman is here. He's got passion for the dogs. There for a while, he had more free people than he had paid people. Oh, Mackenzie just got here. She's with the Utah Rescue.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Chris. Oh, you wish you knew this was happening. Every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern time. We're right here on the same 8 destinations. We do.
Or-
Go ahead, Roman.
She can have you join and do for the Newfies, because people don't know usually that Newfoundlanders are part of guardian breeds.
They have been used as guardians. So is the Leonberger out of Germany too.
Because the Newfoundlander is the Newfoundland St. John dog plus guardian dogs plus mastiffs makes a Newfie.
Wait, say that again, Roman.
St. John's Retriever
Okay.
plus Spanish or Portuguese Mastiffs, guardian breeds, plus Mastiffs makes a Newfie.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I knew part of that, but I didn't know how much of it was accurate.
We're
I
talking
read that.
about back 1800.
You're right, right. Then the Landseer Newfoundland, wasn't he an artist or something? That was Landseer is a name, is a man's name or a person's name,
Right.
and I think he was an artist. I don't know how he got a breed named after him, but he did.
Very interesting.
Chris says news to me. Yeah.
What do you want shared to your page, Chris? I guess she's talking to Lori or somebody. I don't know, Chris. I don't think I know.
You
Chris.
want the show shared?
Oh,
to your
Edwin
Facebook?
Landseer.
So if in my Newfie online course, I do have exact explanation and images and history background on that.
Yep.
If you guys are interested.
And he also has a great Pyrenees online course.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, they're a little different. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we've got breeds that are a little different.
However, when we see a dog, the dog behaves very close to the breed traits
Yep.
he's bred for, but as individual dog, there's always individuality based on age and all these things. Okay. I'll
right.
add the link there.
Yeah, Chris, the link to the show changes every week, but it's we'll figure out how to get it to you.
She's with one of the Newfoundland rescues.
Okay, we streamed those
She-
3
yeah,
YouTube
she is
channels.
there.
Yeah. So when you
No, no.
said that the breed specific, Roman, like you've seen with a lot of the dogs that I brought on the show, how absolutely loving and personable and protective they are. And then you saw Cosmo. So that's the perfect explanation of how they are treated as puppies and what they've been through, the traumas that they have been through in their lives before they come into the perfect homes. For those of you who are watching now and aren't familiar with Cosmo, he was a brown Newf that I had picked up a couple months back, lived on a logging chain the first multiple months of his life. He's probably 17 months old now, has severe stranger danger. He's scared of all kinds of things, but I saw something in his eyes that was a typical Newfoundland, that he could potentially be something great with the right training and the right people. So, just, I don't know. There's something about these guys that are just such wonderful, gentle giants, but there's always that one in any breed, I guess, that, might have just a touch off with being with the wrong people.
Right.
No.
Yes, Ronnie, that's me. And that's Roman too. So I think on that note, we've got an extra long exit song today.
Look at that. The boys are using the doggy door. Look at that. So anybody that wants these guys, they know how to use it.
And you've got video proof.
Yep, exactly. Right here live.
Facebook may delete these live videos after 30 days now. They must have ran out of storage. Imagine that.
Wow. Imagine
but
that.
we keep the videos. I've got a server at home, and we download every video. I've been doing that since we started the show back in 2000, either 16 or 17. I can't remember when we started this. It was a different rescue. But so anyway, let's end it. Let's go home. You probably got a session anyway.
Thank you guys
I
so
do.
much.
I got a
It was
session
great
with my
show.
own. I got a session with my own Akbash. Melanie, it looks like we kind of bored Sedona to sleep.
This is how she spends most of her day. She's a pretty low energy peer.
Wow,
That's
that's pretty
awesome.
cool. All right.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Bye. We'll see you next week. This
Bye,
time.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rome.